Kupiansk should have fallen months ago. On Kremlin maps, this small city in Kharkiv is still shaded in as returned to Russia. But down in the shattered streets, reality is much narrower. A few dozen Russian soldiers are hiding in basements, no longer fighting to win, just clinging on so a political claim doesn't disappear, until a unit that crossed the Atlantic starts hunting them down, one position at a time. This is where the story of the Colombian volunteers begins. They're not Ukrainian regulars, and they're not amateurs either. Many of them are veterans, with decades of experience fighting guerrillas and cartels, used to cramped cities, enemies blending into civilian areas, and threats that can appear from a side alley or a rooftop above their heads. In Ukraine, they're folded into mixed recon and assault groups, alongside other Spanish-speaking volunteers from across Latin America under the 13th Brigade. Their task is specific: help encircle and dismantle the last Russian pockets in Kupiansk without paying a high price in Ukrainian casualties. That means no big frontal offensives and no straight-line pushes across open ground that invite fire from every direction. The Colombian heavy unit instead breaks the city into bite-sized pieces. They move in small teams, taking houses, street corners, and building blocks one by one. Their counterinsurgency background shows. They're used to making snap decisions under fire and shifting position before the enemy can react. In Kupiansk, this turns into a series of micro-encirclements. Isolated Russian groups are cut off from escape routes, forced to hunker down in tight spaces, then neutralized or captured in controlled close-range engagements. Footage from the ground shows that method playing out over rubble. Helmet-mounted cameras follow Colombian fighters as they thread through destroyed city blocks, fully aware that any corner could hide a drone operator or a forward observer. Overhead, Russian drones circle, and one blast goes off close enough to wound one of the men. Instead of pulling back, the team keeps moving, turning blown-out walls, collapsed structures, and narrow corridors into covered routes. On the upper floors of nearby buildings, other volunteers watch the streets and inner courtyards, scanning for tiny movements, a sniper at a window, or a small group shifting from one building to the next, while also keeping half an eye on the sky for the next drone. On the ground, that human overwatch is fused with the constant work of Ukrainian drone operators. The combination of two sets of eyes, people in upper floor windows, and sensors in the air, helps Ukrainian command pick out a key pocket. A group of Russian soldiers hold up in the Kupiansk town council building and the surrounding structures. It's not just another point on the map. The town hall sits on the edge of a relatively open square, offering clear lines of sight and strong firing sectors to whoever controls it. So the question becomes, how do you take a position like that without turning the square into a killing field? Instead of charging straight at the town hall, the Colombians first target a five-story building across the square. If that tall structure is left in Russian hands, any movement across the open ground could be raked by fire from several angles. After a close-range firefight to secure the taller building, they gain something crucial: a safe firing and observation platform looking directly onto the council complex. Ukrainian drones confirm that Russian troops are still inside. From there, the attack shifts into a push and strike operation. The Colombians lay down sustained small arms fire into key points on the town hall, forcing Russian soldiers to shift position inside the building to find new cover. Every movement leaves a trace: a silhouette in a window, a blur in a doorway, a flash on a stairwell that can be picked up by the drone cameras. Once those hiding spots are mapped, Ukrainian FPV drones follow in successive waves, slamming into rooms and corridors that had been safe minutes earlier. Only after that resistance is softened do the assault teams move in closer and clear the building room by room, finishing off the remaining defenders and raising their flag over the town council complex and the neighboring square. The pressure forces Russian command into a risky decision. They need a way to push reinforcements into a city that's almost sealed off. On the map, winter seems to offer a solution. As temperatures drop and the Oskil River north of Kupiansk freezes, the ice looks like a free bridge for infantry and light vehicles. Again and again, Russian units try to cross the frozen river, hoping that the thick ice layer will give them a new route into the shrinking defensive butterfly still holding out in the city. The problem is that both riverbanks in that sector are already under Ukrainian surveillance. The ice may make walking easier, but it also leaves every movement out on the river surface completely exposed. According to Ukrainian spokesman Viktor Tragubov, Russian troops managed to seize only temporary footholds before they're hit by drones and artillery and forced back to their starting positions. The attempt to exploit the weather turns the frozen river into a killing zone instead of a rescue lane. The combined result is visible both on the map and in the city itself. After the joint Ukrainian-Colombian clearing operations run their course, fewer than 100 Russian soldiers remain in Kupiansk. They're scattered, short on ammunition and supplies, most of them hiding in basements in the central and northwestern districts. Their room to maneuver shrinks until only two extreme options are left: surrender or wait while they're slowly picked off from the air and by small, targeted ground assaults. Overall, bringing Colombian veterans into the core assault groups becomes a key factor in breaking the last pockets of Russian resistance in Kupiansk. Persistent pressure from experienced small teams accelerates the collapse of defensive positions that once looked stubborn, and shows how tightly coordinated, drone-supported light infantry tactics can dismantle a stranded force that's been cut off from meaningful support. Russian commanders may still talk about Kupiansk as a city they intend to retake, even setting new deadlines for future offensives. But the situation on the ground points to something else. In modern urban warfare, focused, well-executed operations can shift the balance of control without a massive, theater-wide offensive along the entire front line.